I'm Johnny Ashley in the Hood in the Woods, your neighborhood backwoods history and travel channel. You can find me on Facebook as The Real Hood in the Woods, and on Instagram as Abandoned in Appalachia. For more mountain music, check out Clovis Draper's YouTube channel. Now, if you'd like to help out my page a little bit, throw a couple bucks in my gas tank, I'm going to have a link for my PayPal in the description. Another way you can help out my page, and help yourself out too, is get yourself your official copy of the Hood in the Woods book, Volume 1. John Preston was born in Drury County, Ireland in 1726. He immigrated to America in 1773, and he married Eleanor Fairman. In the late 1770s, they and their 3 children moved to Washington County, Virginia. John Preston built a log cabin near 3 large walnut trees. It is the oldest home in the region. His son Robert Preston was commissioned to be the land surveyor of Washington County. He was appointed in 1779 by Virginia Governor Thomas Jefferson. Robert Preston was married in 1780. He built this White House. His parents' log cabin sits directly behind it. John Preston died here in 1796. His wife Eleanor lived here until 1820 when she died. She was 95 years old. Twice a day the slaves working on Robert Preston's plantation would come in from the fields and take a break. They would sit here, underneath the resting tree. This white oak tree is between 375 to 525 years old. The tree is 15.6 feet around, 85 feet tall, and has a canopy that spans 90 feet. Robert Preston's oldest and most tenured slave was called Uncle Rube. When he became too old to work, he began watching the kids that were too young to work. Uncle Rube called all the children his babies. He would cry when they would turn 10 and were sent to the field to work, knowing that would be the end of their innocence. In 1794, a little boy was born. His feet were so deformed that he would never be able to walk. He was called Cripple Dan, and he was placed in Uncle Rube's care. Twice a day when the field workers would take their breaks, Uncle Rube would place Cripple Dan on his shoulders, and he would lead a procession of children down here to see their parents. Dan loved the trips to the tree, and they were the highlight of his day. On a cold March day in 1799, Cripple Dan died of pneumonia. He was 5 years old. Uncle Rube asked Robert Preston if Dan could be buried here at his favorite place, underneath the resting tree. Robert Preston agreed, and Dan was buried here. A few years later, Uncle Rube was buried next to him. In all, over 100 people are buried here in the old slave cemetery. Even after the Civil War, people wanted to be buried here, to be close to their family members. The graves were only marked with rocks, and soon the cemetery was overgrown and forgotten. The cemetery was forgotten until 1964. That year the land was sold, and during that process someone noticed it on an old map. Federal law prohibits desecration of a slave cemetery, but unfortunately many have been forgotten, overgrown, and unknowingly bulldozed. This is the largest slave cemetery in Southwest Virginia. As I tell this story and I say so-and-so built this house and so-and-so built that house, really in reality they didn't build any houses. They sat there and drank lemonade in the shade. So it's really important that we come and show our respects here to the people who actually did everything. The first desegregated cemetery in Virginia was in Pocahontas in the 1880s. Now, I've done a video about the town of Pocahontas and I talked about that cemetery. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the description if you'd like to check it out. Everyone associates American slavery with the antebellum South. But the fact of the matter is, if the Europeans weren't buying the textiles and the tobacco, there wouldn't have been a market for it, and there wouldn't have been the slavery. The British banned slavery by their own people, but yet they didn't have a problem purchasing goods that was made by American slaves. Now, you might know me from talking about the past, but me personally, I try to live in the future. So let me ask you this. Are you a modern-day British person supporting slavery today? Chocolates have an anti-child labor label. Have you ever seen one of those? Have you ever purchased an anti-child labor candy bar? There's an iPhone factory in East Asia. They pay their workers $2 an hour, and the building has suicide nets around it to keep people from jumping off. Let me ask you this. Was your cell phone made by slaves? What about the components used to make it? Do you know if that was made by slavery? If you've ever eaten a shrimp cocktail, the odds are about 50-50 that they were peeled by slave laborers in Thailand. Robert Preston served as the county's land surveyor for 63 years. He was also the county sheriff from 1800 to 1804. He had 2 children, John and Jane. Jane married her cousin, who was also her adopted brother. They moved to Abington. John Montgomery Preston built this house in 1842. He was a cousin of the Walnut Grove Preston. Later on, a lady called Lucy Crockett lived here. She called the house Herodon, but you might know this as the house that you see from Interstate 81 at the 7 Mile Ford exit. On this site from 1866 to 1961 stood the second and third buildings of the Walnut Grove Presbyterian Church. Now if you look up here, that's the new church that's in use. Now if we turn this direction, we're going to come to that cemetery. The Preston family cemetery is now the Walnut Grove Presbyterian Cemetery. Robert Preston died in 1883. John Preston would attend court in Abington with his dad, and he developed a keen interest in the law. He went to Princeton and he earned a law degree. He had plans on practicing law in Baltimore, but before he did that, he wanted to come back to Southwest Virginia. On his way back, he stopped to stay with family on the Smithfield Plantation in Clark County, Virginia. There he met Peggy Preston. The two were infatuated with each other, and 2 weeks later they were married. John Preston never made it to Baltimore, nor did he ever practice law, but he was a sitting judge here in Washington County for 25 years. He built this house in 1825. He designed it to look like the Smithfield plantation that he had met his wife on. John and Peggy had 14 kids. They had a son called Henry. After his house burned down, Henry moved his family back in here with his dad. They lived here until his dad's death in 1864. That morning, his dad was found dead, sitting in a recliner in his library. John Preston willed this house to Henry, and he and his family stayed living here after his dad's death. This is Henry Preston and his wife's section of the cemetery. All the tombstones behind me are either their tombstones, their children's tombstones, or their grandchildren's tombstones. The house has been restored. It is now the Washington County Child Advocacy Center. All right, so I'm just going to run a quick lap around this house so we can get a nice look at it. Now, just real quick before we go, I want to count. There's 2 chimneys right here. So we're going to count the chimneys. I love this beautiful upper porch deck. I like how it looks, all nice and restored. And they've been keeping it pretty vintage looking with that old lamp right there too. That kind of adds a little flavor. And they've just got the chairs like you'd be sitting on the porch in the shade drinking lemonade. So let's spin around over here to the side. So it's got this little wing coming off here. So let's see, that's the 3rd chimney, and then up here is going to be the 4th chimney. Uh-oh, look at that. That's the 5th chimney. So this is a 5 chimney house. The next house up is set back in the woods. I was a little frightened, but hey, I want the goods. I knocked on the door. I heard a knock back. And then I heard, come on in. And yo, I'm like, screw that. All right, let's go inside. John Preston had another son named James. He began building this house in 1858. He named it Calamo, which translates from Latin into the hill that I love. When he died, he willed the house to his son, Dr. John Preston. In the 1920s and 30s, Dr. Preston sold the house, he married his cousin, and they moved to Texas. John Flanagan Jr. bought this house. Before buying this house, he had been the Commonwealth Attorney of Buchanan County, Virginia. After moving here, he began serving in the House of Representatives. He served 8 terms, from 1931 to 1949. He set up a law office in Bristol, and he ran until his death in 1955. His widow sold the house to Rufus and Rosalie Hairstrom. They owned a distribution company and a successful farm. The Hairstroms had some stables on the land, and they used to participate in local horse competitions. So as we come in here, let's just appreciate these nice purple flowers we have blooming. And look at it, even more. Oh, springtime's in full effect here. Let's get inside. And we come in here, and we got this big piano, just classic looking piano. It's a Chickering, let's see. Is it? Oh, they hate it when I do that. Peter Bankman, Ghostbusters. And here's going to be the second of the 3 pianos. And see, does it work sideways? No, nothing going. Nothing going. I don't see a maker mark on it, but here we can see the pedals and the mechanics to, I'm not really sure what the pedals do, something about lengthening the strings, but there's the mechanics for it. You just swing right on through here. And just check out these windows too. I mean, we got like 10-foot tall ceilings. We got 10-foot tall windows all across the front. Every room's got a fireplace. I'm about positive this is a 5-chimneyer. And right here, this is a little closet. When we come to the other side, you'll see what it is. Here's the third piano. And this is a Jacob Brothers from New York. Let's give it an old play. Nothing. Nothing. Hot and humid today in Virginia. It's like 95% humidity. So right here is this is going to be one of the trophies that the people that raised the horses left. And these books here, they are, I think they have their names in them. Actually, yeah, hairpin, oh, Latin heritage. Yep, Jam Hairston. So these are, what's that? Colonial University, something on education. There's their books. Now, I love this thing. It is beautiful. Let's open it up. Look at all that space. Good solid wood. It's just a little closet there now. And you see right here they had the servant stairs, but they have it blocked off up top. There's just a couple books up here. Looks like it was storage. Now if we come around in here to this side, now this would have been the other side of that closet there. And here's the steps down to the basement, but we'll get down there later. We'll get down to business in a minute. We come through here and I'm not sure, but here's the kitchen. They got a nice island, fireplace, late 70s style kitchenette. Got the oven in the wall. It's kind of cool. They have refrigerators built into the wall too. When we come out that door, I'll show it to you. But we got this last little room in here, which I have a feeling this would have been the servant's room, since this house never actually was finished before the Civil War, so there were no slaves in this house. So if we come out here, see, and there's the back of the fridge, and it's just framed over. There's the back of that one, and we come out here outside and we can just get a nice view of it. Let's just see how spectacular it looks from the back. And then here's the little kitchen here. So if it's got 4 chimneys on the front, and then this one here, this is a 5-chimney house. So let's come on in here. And I absolutely love this staircase. This staircase is like the crown jewel of this house. And it still has the carpet on it. Just look at that. Look at the skill. It's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 different pieces making the curve. But still, it's beautiful. And we just come up here. And get a nice view out the window. See, you see how covered up the kitchen is. That's another fireplace. Every room in here's got a fireplace. And if we come out here, here's the door to the balcony. But from the condition of that roof, I'm going to say it's probably best if we don't go out there. Let's come in here and see what's up. Got a nice fireplace. So I guess that's the spooky thing, is all the damn wood in it. It wasn't like that before. Anybody here? Yeah, and we just got this room here, got his bathroom. There's a spider web right there, so that's a good sign. Someone ain't been in here. And see, this one's got some fresh wood in it too. Now this property is for sale, and it's only a couple acres, but they've got it marked for commercial, and the price tag is $2.5 million. And the property, like I said, it's a couple acres, and it's just big enough that they can build like a big box store or an apartment complex or something like that. Check out this closet right here. I love these drawers. They're fantastic. Man, don't make them like they used to. So, you know, whoever pays this $2.5 million for this place is probably gonna get tore down, and it's just the right size to build like a big box store in a parking lot, or you know, maybe a nice apartment complex. Let's come down these stairs again, and I gotta tell you, I just feel like such a Southern belle coming down here for my dance party or something. And I'm gonna hook y'all up with a little bit of knowledge. Southern belle, belle means beautiful in French. Like if you ever watch Beauty and the Beast, Beauty's name is Belle, which means beauty. So that's what Southern belle means. So as promised, I shall deliver. Let's check out this basement. Anybody down here? Not here to bother you. Alright, nobody's down here, and you see there's not much, just a boiler, some bricks, chair. Yeah, but look at these, the timbers up here. You see my hand, they're, I mean, it's probably 4 inches wide. I mean, this is a lot bigger wood than what's commercially available these days. You know, it's just sad if they tear this place down that, you know, they're probably not going to reclaim any of the wood, which is sad because you can't really get these cuts anymore. And these are a whole bunch of bricks. There's a couple piles of bricks. They don't have any maker's marks on them, and I'm just thinking that they might have been produced right here on site, and that's just a surplus. When we come up out the back, and here's a door right up into the kitchen, but I mean, just look how grown up that is. And we can come right through here and just kind of loop around. Check this out. Always be prepared. I got my nice snake gaiters on. Let me just ask you this hypothetical question here. If your snake gaiters and your shorts don't even match, are you even cool? Are you even cool? So down here is going to be underneath the kitchen. So anybody down here? I ain't here to bother you. Hello? Alright, so we come in here. And this looks like a lot of older construction to me. Because if we look up here, they actually have log rafters. And it's not even those giant cuts of wood anymore. These are just straight up logs. So I think this is probably the oldest part of the house, and then the part that we was in earlier was built later. But there's nothing down here, just some really old and moldy furniture. But even like the walls, you can just see it's just plaster on top of bricks. It's a very simple construction, but it's held up the test of time so far. One of the things I really like about this house is just how ornate the front porch is, and this looks like something that the Adams family would really like. And if we come right over here too, we can see those big 10-foot tall windows from the outside. And, I mean, just imagine the view if all this wasn't overgrown, and then all this wasn't overgrown. Trust me, it'd be a fantastic view. And then in the woods behind the house, we have this, and I'm not quite sure what it is, but you can see it was electric driven, and it has the wheels for the belt ago, and the piping down here, and we could tell the age of the concrete that it's really old, because you see how it's been poured in layers, and every about a foot you can see a layer. So back before we had the electronic concrete vibrators that would take the air bubbles out, not to have air bubbles in the concrete, they had to pour it in small layers. Plus, just from the size of the gravel, we can see it's not like pea gravel from a quarry, and that it's been like pulled out the side of the mountain or out of a river or something because of the inconsistent size. So this has to be pretty old. Like most kids, my kid watches a lot of YouTube, and he understands that people on YouTube, they have like the little ending things they say. And when he watches my stuff, he's like, Johnny, it sounds like you're threatening your audience. Have you thought about not threatening your audience? And I'm like, no. If you're watching my stuff, you better hit the like button and you better hit the subscribe button. Don't be watching my stuff